Hello, hello. That was a short video. All right. Hi, everyone. This is by far the hardest speech that I'd have to prepare for, because I don't know who I am. I'm 21. I'm an only child to a white Irish mother and a black Ghanaian father. And every time I hone in on some aspect of my identity or where I came from, I feel kind of like an imposter, like I'm not going to tell my truth correctly. I also psyched myself out because, I don't know if you saw in the beginning, there's this like 7-year-old giving a TED talk, and he's probably explaining the deficit through like linking logs. And I know you can't, I can't compare myself to a 7-year-old. We don't even drink the same kind of juice at 5 o'clock. But the reason why I drink is because I'm a sociology major, and nothing pairs better with Zygmunt Bauman's theory of mobile identities than a nice, crisp glass of sangria. Now, this theorist, Bauman, had the bright idea that we are currently living in a time where we're questioning everything. We're pulling our own stories apart, our little episodic memories. For instance, do you guys have a memory in your mind that you go to that tells a lot more about yourself than you're willing to admit? Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, for me, it's my high school talent show, and we're not going there. I'm not ready yet. But he thought the reason why we break these things apart is that we can see how we grow, how we move through these episodic memories. And today, I am going to deconstruct a story that's not my talent show, but something else. And maybe through there we can learn something. And there's 4 different postmodern mobile identity types. And through this story, we're going to see exactly who the people in my life, how they identify as. And then we're going to see how I personally identify through that story. So in my high school, I was deeply embroiled in my speech and debate club. We would go every weekend to a competition, and there would be a lot of white kids around, and that's fine. That's okay. I'm okay even right now with all the white kids in the room. We would have conversations, and it was totally cool, but things like this would come up. Oh, B, you're just so white. Oh, okay. No, B, you understand, you're like the whitest one here. That's not physically possible. But regardless, I wanted to agree with them, right? I wanted to be competitive with them. I wanted them to give me the same respect that they would any other competitor, so I agreed. I assimilated. Oh, yeah, totally. I get what you're saying. I listen to My Chemical Romance too, as if having a taste in music makes you white. But every time I'd go back to my high school English class, and we would be reading pieces like Huckleberry Finn or The Heart of Darkness, that sort of lie, that sort of glamour shifted underneath my feet. And every time we spoke about race or issues on racism, I started to get the feeling, maybe these white kids just didn't get it. Here's a quote. Oh, racism's not so bad anymore. We got Obama, end quote. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. I had to come out. I had to come out as a person of color to everybody, not as gay. I've been dressing like this since 2007. People got that idea. So I knew there was a perfect speech and debate competition to prove my truth, to explain to everyone what we already knew, the obviousness of who I am. So I was going to tell the story of my father and how he came from Ghana to here, met my mother, and how we all as a family negotiated sort of our run-ins with race and racial issues. So the other kids who I went up against, they're aight. One girl had a story about her many mission trips and how she'd go into, a place that needed help, would leave. That's it. Another kid would talk about how good he was at math. And if anyone's the whitest kid in my school, it's that kid. So it's my time to go up. And these kids I went up against, they knew about the racial tensions in my classroom. They knew about how I always stifled my own speech when we talked about race. So I go up to the mic, and I'm feeling terrified. I have this sort of nagging butterfly in my stomach. I calm down. I try to get present. And for the first time, it was like I felt as though I told the absolute truth. Bam. I told him what time it was. I explained myself. I talked with so much personal precision and passion because it was like I was drowning and lying, and I finally got a breath of fresh air, and I won. And the thing is that winning wasn't so important as much as me having a space to just be myself and tell the truth. I spoke lightning, and thunder answered afterwards saying, yes, we see you. So winning wasn't that important. I go home with my spoils. And Mom and I are ecstatic. We are dancing around our house. We're throwing like a mini party, just her and I. And I get a text from a friend from Speech and Debate. We'll call her S. And of course, she's probably going to congratulate me on my win. Not like it's important, but she's probably going to do it. So I see it, and she's like, hey, heard about your speech? Yeah. And this next part reminds me why it's so hard to tell a personal truth in a public space. She said, you used your race to win that competition. How dare you? What? I poured hours into this piece. I cried over this piece. I was practicing day after day to speak my truth and get ready. And Schmitty can brag about how good he is at math, but I can't talk about being a mixed kid in Maumee, Ohio. I was distraught. My mom tried to comfort me, but there's something about racism. It's an indescribable feeling. It's like you're screaming out the truth and everyone's saying, it's a lie. So I felt like I had no one really to turn to. So I went on Facebook. And a lot of white kids blocked me after that. So going back to Bauman's 4 postmodern identity types, I'm gonna tell you what they are, and we're gonna see who fits in what type and what category. So the first category is the player. These are people who live their lives just to win, to find the game. So they chalk up their wins and losses. We have the strollers. These are people who go from one cool thing to the next, but always knowing that there's something more beautiful just around the corner. The next type, these are the tourists. These are people who venture outside, but when it gets a bit uncomfortable, they always go back home to feel a little bit more sane. And the final type, these are the vagabonds. These are the others in our society, the people that are always pitted up against authority. Now, originally, S and I, since we're both on a speech and debate team, we were players. My strategy for winning was to assimilate. Her strategy for winning was to tell me about my truth, even though she didn't listen to my speech in the first place. Math boy and mission girl, these are strollers. They're experiencing beautiful things in their lives, and they want to tell you about it, but they'll keep going on and doing the same things to find something a little bit more beautiful. My mother, she's a tourist. I think. She's in the audience. Okay, just listen. I think she's a tourist because every time the going gets tough, she goes back home to make herself comfortable and make me feel comfortable. Love her every day. But this is a story about how I was pushed to be a vagabond, someone who stepped over the line. You see, when I dropped my strategy of assimilation and I said enough was enough, that was too much for somebody else. And I saw people in the audience saying, oh, no, yeah, I feel your pain. I think the reason why is because I didn't move there on my own volition. I was pushed. I was othered by somebody else. And I think we can all identify that as an injustice. Bowman had one more identity type that I think is really important to deconstructing this episode, and that's the pilgrim. Now, he didn't think the pilgrim exists anymore in our postmodern context because the pilgrim goes through life in constant preparation for themselves, for a holy kingdom or a utopia. And I don't know if I believe in those things, but I do see the merit and trying to be better every single day, asking yourself, what's going on inside me to make myself feel better? My father and my mother have always told me, no matter who the president is, no matter what's going on, you can be anyone you want to be in this country. And I still believe them. And that's why I'm not upset at S. I'm still hurt. But I see that it's impossible to be stuck in the rut of racism, because what that is just a pot. It holds in your identity. You can't move from that, from the oppressive thoughts of yesteryear. You have to move on. And I don't know where she is right now, but I hope that she learned from this transaction or this mistake. I don't even know what to call it. But when we deconstruct our lives, and this is for you, when we go back, it can be kind of dangerous, because you don't want to wallow in your yesterday. You don't want to wallow in your 4 years ago or your 5 years ago. But when you do this, when you look back at your own memories, ask yourself this: how did I get through this? Did I hurt somebody? Did I try to learn something? Did I try to teach something, or did I just try to listen? And I hope that you guys can find it in yourself, like I did, to deconstruct any hard episode, because once you see the truth of who you are, even if it's good or bad, that will hit you as hard as thunder. But pay attention, because your identity changes quickly, like lightning. Thank you. Where do I go?